You're all good.
Yep. Okay, good. So I'm Brian Powell. I am the Chief Technology Officer at Strap. Strap is a human data intelligence platform. What we do is we take basically human metric data like heart rate and steps and intake. So I'm Brian Powell. I am the Chief Technology Officer at Strap. Strap is a human.
There we go. Sorry, you were echoing.
Okay. All right, no worries. Sorry. Okay. So what we do is we take like the human metric data, so whether it's heart rate, BMI, food intake, steps, activity, sleep data, etc. And then we take that and we basically put that through a set of normalization pieces so that our customers can hook into things like Fitbit and Misfit and Apple Health and Google Fit, as well as any of the data that's generated by like running applications or so Runkeeper or MapMyFitness, where they're using the actual phone as sort of a wearable tracker. So we take all that data from all those platforms and then we normalize it so that companies can use it to sort of understand their customers better, as well as do certain working with companies that want to do activity-based challenge. And then our data science pieces actually focus on
Brian, you're lagging out a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, what part did you get? What did I get broken up at?
I'm not sure.
Okay, all right. So we're basically taking the data from all of these sensors, and we are basically processing it into behavioral profiles that allow our customers to engage at certain points in the consumer's life. Whether it's they're training for a marathon, and our clients want to basically communicate to them around that marathon, or it's to spur on and sort of do wellness-based type programs, or with hospitals that are looking to sort of do follow-on care for a patient that may have cardiac issues. And so the platform is really built to be whatever our customers need it to be. It's easily extensible. We can add more platforms in at any time by mapping them into our data structures, and then we basically guide the whole connection process of that consumer to that. To normalize all of that across.
You lagged out a bit again. Right after.
Okay, so we normalize the OAuth processes, and so in doing the normalization, our customer sort of experiences the same thing, whether they're authorizing for Fitbit or Apple Health, etc. And then we manage the life cycle of that connection. So certain platforms have tokens that last for maybe an hour. Other platforms require us to pull data from them rather than receive push notifications. And our customers on the other side don't need to worry about all of that. We sort of take care of making sure that all of the data is flowing and the user continues to be in their program and connected. As well as we manage the disconnect process of that. So that data, I mentioned, could be used in a number of different ways, whether it's wellness programs, etc. But in order to make all of those programs actionable, what we actually do is layer in triggering on top of that. So the ability to watch certain metrics inside of those users inside of real time as that data comes into the system. And it takes us about a second to process and notify our customers as data is flowing records through the system that get evaluated across all of the clients, as well as handling all. And what we actually do is we have two sort of forms of notification for our customers when an event is met. So they can specify a push hook URL where a post happens, and then we pass them a JSON object to it, and that's configurable based on the criteria that they're setting. Or we allow them to subscribe to sort of all the information that's flowing through our system through a Redis pub sub, in which they can basically hook in, grab the data, and they get notified whenever we push activity onto that particular channel. So the pieces that we have then allow our customers to plug those into their customer relation systems, or to gather that data to, inside of maybe a wellness program, have a health coach be notified or engaged, or something that, someone's maybe not meeting their criteria for, maybe diabetes care or something along. That's kind of where Strap sits inside of the ecosystem of the data that we consume and where we pipe it to. The biggest piece that we're sort of doing with that data is sort of taking that next step, that next sort of layer up, and starting to build wellness solutions that plug in things like, that utilize the data science components that we create to sort of do, AI type things to sort of, create, wellness solutions that, are sort of off the shelf, ready to go, if that makes sense. And those solutions are, focused on different things for different clients. So one could be maybe, a company has a set of health coaches that work with a population. The ability to sort of, key in on the people that are going to need the most help, or to run, quick little, 5K, join for, I don't know, a protein bar or something like that. And, they'll sort of reward winners for, doing steps and sort of having fun and around fitness. So, it's pretty interesting. All of our customers come to and we are
customers.
What'd you say?
After customers. You lost us. You're blocking out.
I'm so sorry. We've got storms rolling through the area here, so I apologize. So, our customers sort of come to us with all sorts of different use cases for our data, and we're always kind of amazed at, the fact that we're able to, to help them, to find a way to pump the data. And, there's constantly new devices and new metrics coming out. A lot of the big push right now is into heart rate sensors. So how do you, basically use heart rate as a measure of fitness, and, and taking that into account with all of the other data that's there, because that's much more time series based versus the level where most companies want to operate at, which is like the daily. So tell me how many daily steps they took. Tell me the workouts that they did, in that area. When you go down to the heart rate, you start to get into the minute and hour based stuff, and some of that is pretty interesting in terms of how it applies to the data and the ability for, especially healthcare people to understand exactly what's going on with their in uniform manner, rather than when they just show up for care. So I can walk you through a little, some screenshots and stuff like that of Strap, and I actually kind of like to open it up a little early for questions to see if we can't, get more of a, me trying to, tell you sort of how Strap is put together and used. So let me. Hopefully. Oh. Okay. All right. So hopefully you can see this. So a little bit of a, this is sort of how we talk about what Strap does in the market. Strap delivers data and analytics for mobile health devices to wellness companies and health systems. So the problem, wellness companies need clean.
It went to your logo. It's not showing the presentation.
Can you see that now? No?
Mm-hmm. It was up for a second. Sweet. Yeah, you're good now.
Good? Okay. So, so the problem is wellness companies need clean, consistent data for improved member management, management and engagement. And so, health systems face billions in losses due to the, readmissions and, and care variation that's necessary. And really, there's no easy way, to normalize, analyze, and take action on all the data from across wearables and mobile health devices today. And that's really where Strap sort of fits in. That's what we do is, make it easy to consume and work with the data, across, pretty much any number of users, and plug it into, what our customers need it to do, whether it's taking care of a person, or it's engaging them in maybe market research or something along those lines. So Strap provides one easy connection to tap into pretty much any area of patient data and analytics. So little screenshot, we integrate with 10 platforms currently. So Fitbit, Jawbone, Misfit, HealthKit, Google Fit, Under Armour Connect, Garmin. Man, I'm gonna miss some of these. Wittings, iHealth, and I think there's one more. But anyway, that's the bulk of them. And so you can actually see down in the bottom sort of left corner here, where, basically what we have the ability to do. We define all of our triggers sort of like sentences. So, trigger on a user's wake up. Because we're building a behavioral profile on that user, we sort of know on the day when that wake up pattern is going to happen, so that we can remind someone to take a pill, to take, maybe to do some other fitness activity, whether to take a run or something along those lines. And so we take that and we normalize that data into a dashboard. So there's a real-time dashboard that any of our customers can log into that of their customer base. So, based on plotting the activity points like steps, distance traveled, active minutes, non-active minutes, calories burned, we can sort of scatter plot them through data science and group them into segments of people that, maybe we know who the high group of runners is, and then we know who, maybe the more sedentary people are. By doing that, we're able to sort of easily hand that data over to the healthcare providers so that they can use that on their side to make sure that maybe a patient. And then we do trending sort of on the overall population. So, the number of steps, the distance, are they trending up? Are they consistent? Are they trending down? And that's just a good measure of sort of, certain factors when you're defining a user group. So some of our healthcare providers will know who their 10,000 diabetic patients are, obviously, that are using the application, and we want to create a trigger or segment just this group so that we can
Brian, you keep breaking up. Is there any way you could re-say what you were saying maybe a minute back?
Yeah, so was I talking about segmentation? Okay, triggering and trending. So we define the triggering based on the information is then used to do segmentation and do triggering inside of those segments. And so when we think about a group of users that may have low activity, we can hand that data over to a healthcare provider, et cetera. And then, by generating trends inside of the population, we've had certain people use those, certain activities that they should do, with the population, maybe of an organization or a camp or something along those. Pretty interesting, the applications of the data that we have sort of going on. But when we get down to sort of the micro level, which is the individual level, that's really where we're able to look at that user and understand, are they a marathon runner? Are they training, for a program? Have they set a weight loss goal? And, provide, the ability for that data to really be truly actionable and provide the support that maybe, people need to go along with that, whether it's through healthcare or whether it's through, other programs like maybe consumer programs like Weight Watchers and those, or Jenny Craig and things like that. So, let me move this slide here. Hold on just a second. So our difference is, other than just some of the other platforms that are out there that really connect the wearable devices, and then provide sort of the connection flow. They don't really provide any analytics. They're just the pipes. And so we view our ability to plug in and sort of gather this data and normalize it and provide just that service as sort of the baseline of what we need to do to provide actual value on top of that data. And we do that through the segmentation and the trends and behavioral profiles and the predictive analytics that we apply to that data. So the data is based on basic data, behavioral, and trending. I talked a little bit about that. And then we have, we're pretty much, interoperable. We can do custom data pieces for our customers. So if they, if they provide their own data science script that they want run closer to the data, maybe without exporting it, we have the ability to stand that up in an isolated environment and apply it to the data and produce the work that's, the things that are needed there, as well as plug into, EHR claim systems and other types of platforms. So the Strap team, as I mentioned before, I am the CTO. We have our three founders, actually, Steve Caldwell, our CEO, Patrick Henshaw, and then Joey. And then we have an amazing full-stack developer, Matt Johnson, and a data science, Cuss Sang. So, with that, are there any questions about sort of how we do what? That work?
It works. We can see the screen.
Okay, I'm going to go back to me here. So, all right. So, sorry, just 1 second here. So how we built Strap. So each of our actually its own separate code base, and the entire platform is built in a very modular sort of approach, so that we aren't trying to test and validate all of our sort of code bases in one big hump. So it's not a monolithic structure at all. In fact, it's probably micro services. And the reason why we did that is that all of these platforms, Fitbit, Jawbone, Misfit, have teams of developers on the other as good as they can possibly be. And so
You're breaking up a bit. Is there any way you could go back to Fitbit's team?
Okay. So we know that there's teams on the...
You broke up again.
This is horrible. So there's teams on the other side of these platforms that are constantly making their APIs better that we consume. And so the goal of building it in micro services is just to make sure that when Fitbit releases something or Jawbone releases something, that we can in a very isolated way just update that component of the system without needing to revalidate everything that goes across. And so all of our data science pieces, we stand those up in almost the exact same environment that they're being developed in, and so that it reduces sort of all friction there for us to deploy our data science capabilities or our customers' data science capabilities. And then the core platform itself, it uses a NoSQL database with pretty much Golang services written on top of that, and then we use Node and Angular and React and those sorts of things for our front-end UIs. So, Jordan, can we open it up for questions?
Go for it. Does anyone have any questions for Brian? I don't think anyone has any questions right now.
All right. Well, Jordan, anything else, any other information I can provide or things I can go through?
Oh, I mean, if you want to go through, one of the things you do, I guess, as CTO or some of the tasks. Sure. You do more technical side of how you actually do it. It would probably be great.
So in the CTO role, especially in a startup, you sort of wear many hats. So, I do I do DevOps work, I do development, I also sort of run the sprint process, etc. The process of sort of building, what we build at Strap really starts with, the team that we've sort of put in place. So, everyone that we've had work with us has been, really, really solid rock stars, which, provides something major. So, whether it's back-end experience or front-end experience, has the experience.
After back-end. Sorry.
Sorry, what was that?
After back-end.
No, as a developer, I sort of go for and try to find the the person that is culturally a right fit and has the right skills, whether it's working on it on the side or whatever. In fact, a lot of the people that we have found to be truly successful have always done stuff off to the side, sort of in their own personal time. And so, that's something that I really look for, and everyone that we have brought to the team sort of has that they're constantly looking to get better. And so, as we were approaching the technology stack, we try to take just a ton of opinion. The piece of how do we do all of this real-time data and do it in such a way that it's manageable. And so the goal was to do really micro-based services, and the team sort of led that piece of it. So as the CTO in that aspect of it, at being such a startup, I got to participate more as a developer. But I guess ultimately, it sort of came down to the way that all of us doing it as a buy-in. But my role is a lot of sort of representing our technology to the market. So we all do a lot of sales meetings. Patrick, which is actually on this as well. He and I spend a lot of time talking with companies and doing sort of overviews. It's sort of this. So the ability to talk about the technology and sort of engage people and sort of try to help them understand what you do and the value that you provide is a lot of what I do as a CTO. Prior to coming to Strap, I was working at an interactive television company and managing a development team there. And then before that, I actually founded 2 companies. And so I don't think you have to be an entrepreneur to work at a startup, but I think or have that spirit, or have been a person. I think that right now a lot really offer great opportunities, and as a CTO, I find a lot of enjoyment in solving some of the problems that the smaller startups are going after. And so as CTO and representing what Strap does and sort of who we are and what we do on the technology side is really something that I feel, is probably one of the perks of the job, I guess, given the fact that you get to, just share, and see and solicit feedback for the thing that you've built, and that's a great process. So, as CTO, that's pretty much what I do. In terms of, what was the other thing that you said, Jordan?
I'm not exactly sure what the other part of the question.
Okay, all right. So, the CTO, what the company needs to be built, and go build it, and then figure out how to make it so that it can be easily maintained so that the company can grow. That's sort of it.
The API, is there any way to do a brief overview of how students can use it, or what actually goes behind, like the workings behind it, actually how it really actually does its stuff?
How it does its stuff? Yeah, absolutely. Give me 1 second here. All right, so let me share this real quick. See that? Can you see that JSON structure? I can blow it up a little bit.
Yep, you can see it.
Okay, so Strap, I sort of mentioned that everything works on microservices.
You lagged out. Brian, we can't hear you.
Oh.
We can't hear you.
You can't.
There we go. Now we can. We can hear you.
All right. Okay. So, so I mentioned before that we did microservices, and so how we actually built the API so that we could easily consume it and write other pieces of the infrastructure is by sort of using a discovery-based model. So, and
you keep breaking up again.
I'm sorry. So this is the discovery model that we have at the core of our infrastructure. And so each one of our services that consumes our API basically starts, with this discovery piece. So let me, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to share a different part of my screen and talk you through sort of how we put it together. So let me. Okay, so inside of our API, all of our customers are given one thing to access, and that's the read token. So that read token allows us to identify that it point on it for each piece, for each endpoint. So, and then the discovery endpoint basically defines that. So you can actually programmatically write against our API because we're telling you the endpoints that are available and all of the values that go along with them. And so all you need to basically use the API is you just throw a header, the X auth token header, onto it, throw your read token in there, and then you can basically call against our API. And we offer actually a set of server-side SDKs in Java, Node, easily pulled in as libraries, and the only thing you have to hand them then is your read token. And what they do is they allow you to, like in Node, to say, strap.activity, and then, pass it the identifier, the GUID of that user, and then that will return you back.
Breaking up again, Brian.
Okay, so did you hear the part about the discovery API?
Yes.
Okay, so discovery API, you can hit that, and then it tells you the endpoints that you can hit. So these server-side SDKs data. So if this is really horrible, huh?
Yeah. It's all right. We're learning.
Okay. So you can basically pull in, the SDK here and pass it your read token. And so as a consumer of the data to pull data, sort of out of your project, you would just plug in your read token. You do the and then once it's ready, you can do things like users.get or activity.get and pass it to GUID, so that you don't have to write a full integration for the Strap API. Now, people who do want to write against it can, and we provide all of these endpoints that are listed over here. So the behavioral profile that we generate for each day of the week, whether it's Monday, Tuesday, etc., we can basically expose that just by throwing, by hitting our service with your read token as our API, the behavior, and then the GUID of the user. And all of our, we use a full RESTful structure on all of our endpoints, and it applies to pretty much everything. It doesn't have any crazy additives like get user or anything along those lines. It's pretty straightforward. But what we pull back and we normalize our data to looks something like this. And so you can see here that we're looking at inside of activity, the minutes, the floors that they've climbed, their body information, the date of this report, food, sleep information is updated. And so, our customers can basically sync their system or pull different pieces out of their system pretty easily with it. So we have also the ability to sort of pull things at a project level, so you can just, because we know that you're coming in on your read token, we know what project you are, so you can request just the segmentation for the project. We have some more robust endpoints like activity where it's paginated, and so you can get well, all of our endpoints are paginated, but you can sort of specify a query, so a start and an end, or go to a specific date, or plug into a you're pulling for a specific user, and so that allows to really sync all of the activity reports for a specific user itself. The trend information, which is generated by our data science algorithms, starts to look at things like active minutes, and then we provide a structure that's a little bit more robust. So, what's the daily, what's the lowest point, what's the highest point, what are those, values that are in there, and then we'll actually loop through the data for that particular pieces and do some analysis, and all of that information is available. That makes it really easy for our consumers to come talk to us. So, there's not really anything that we hide from the API. In fact, our console that we have is pretty much a pretty interface for the information that massaging that happens inside of there. And that's one of the benefits of sort of normalizing and building really an API first strategy, because that's what Strap was sort of built to be, was that the data science reports and the triggering specifics. All right. So in terms of interacting with the API, I can show you sort of a few requests and sort of how they work if you guys are interested in that. Whoa. All right. Keeps going. Okay. All right, there we go. All right, so when you look at sort of all of the endpoints, I mentioned the discovery endpoint here. So when we hit this discovery endpoint, what you're going to get back is that programmatic piece of it. So for the activity endpoint, here's your URL. Here are the optional values that can go into that request. And we do that for every single one of our endpoints. And so, what that enables you to do on the other side as a developer is, program and know, even if we were to move our domain to a different API point, as long as you were consuming our discovery endpoint, all of your services would move over without a hitch. And that really allows us to sort of control an element of configuration in our customer system that, that allows them to not have to worry about, us maybe falling back to, like reserve servers, or, issues with DNS or things along those lines. The project, if I wanted to get the users, I can very easily just tack on. So you can see that I've typed in users here, and now I've got back a list of users that are hooked to this particular project. And you can see these names are actually readable, so you can see that's sort of my Withings device that's hooked here. But the GUID is really meant to be a handshake between our system and our customer system. So when a user goes through the connection and authorization flow, our customer actually provides that unique identifier to us, so that they can pair it up with the value that's in our system. We don't need any PII or like personally identifiable or an email address or anything like that to do what we do. In fact, we sort of stay away from that, even though our infrastructure is fully HIPAA compliant. you know, that the data of who the user is as an individual with identifiable information isn't something that we need to do to understand them as an individual inside of the data. To allow us to, you know, to easily know what's going on. But let's say that I wanted to grab, let's grab. Let's say we wanted to grab the activity information for myself for today. So you can see for today I don't have any information. If I do date, let's just go back here. And I can specify the date here. You can see that it pulls my full report on that. You can't see my phone right now, but I'm actually syncing my Fitbit data, and we'll go back to that previous call. But it takes, so Fitbit is actually really quick. They have a great pub sub notification. And it actually takes, we're still syncing. It still takes, it takes us about 3 or 4 seconds to get notified by Fitbit that the user's data has been updated, and then we're able to go out and grab that information. So see if it come in here. Of course, it's not going to work because I'm demoing, and that's how this works. So, oh, there it is. Okay, so I've taken, you know, 40 food and have not been to sleep yet today. So this report is generated sort of, you know, every time that we get a piece of data, and this is at the daily level. We also have the weekly level as well, where I was using my discovery endpoint. So this is my profile for the week, and actually what you'll start to see here is that, like, the average food and average body and, you know, the average sleep information is actually filled out. And so this is one of the data pieces that we provide, which is the aggregation part of the API. We'll sort of sum up and put all of that data together and provide all of the averages to you so that you don't have to do any of that. And we do that at the month level, and then we do that at the overall level, you know, for the actual, you know, people who want to use and sort of gather this information have sort of a full ready data set on demand. You know, you can do, you know, the segmentation piece. Segments. So the segmentation profile is right here. You know, and this is for that full project, and so, you know, these are actually pretty robust. They will, you know, be, if not thousands of lines long for a huge project, and they'll go through and very, very, you know, granularly detail out, you know, why each user is in each segment, etc. And, you know, in order for our data science layers to consume all of that information, we had to move them as close as we possibly could, and those pieces are actually written in Python, and then we use Google Cloud services to stand those up. So we use a combination of AWS and Google Cloud, depending elements that are pretty static, like, for instance, the segmentation report. Those are stored, you know, in something like S3, whereas, you know, all of our sort of cloud, you know, all of our sort of weekly and daily information, that's stored in a Mongo database. We find the flexibility of Mongo really adheres itself well to sort of how we consume data, given the fact that we sort of break it into larger subsections, and we're able to nest those documents rather than try to write tables against them and that sort of stuff. So that's basically the API. On the other side of things, we have the write API. And the write API allows our consumers to, or excuse me, our there we go. it allows our customers to easily integrate our services. So we provide, sort of mislabeled here, but we actually have a Java web library that you can just throw your write token into, and then the user GUID that you want for that user, and then it will basically connect the user, and basically guide them through the authentication process. On the iOS side of things, beautiful part of, so on the iOS, we have a framework that you can basically drop into your application, and then we handle pretty much all you have to do is tell us when the button back to you connected. A lot of things are customizable in between those two flows, and we have that for iOS and we have that for Android. And so, whether it's a customer that, challenges, we provide, unless it's a customer that wants to run fitness challenges or maybe run integrate us inside of a mobile app, we sort of have all of the tools pre-baked for them to get really rolling and started. And I feel that's kind of, in order to make this data useful, you have to really make sure that the ability to integrate our information server SDKs, our services has to be as easy as possible to sort of, to them onboarding. And so, we do that through the mobile SDKs, and we do that through our server-side SDKs. And those SDKs, we're constantly want them, but it's something that we feel is really important for the user experience, especially the developer experience when they're interacting with Strap, is that it's the API is easy to work with, and we're providing all of the tools to make their job as easy as possible to quickly ramp up on what we do, how the data can be used, but also make sure that they aren't slugging through creating their own API integration and those sorts of things. So Jordan, that is sort of how to use the API and a lot of the shots of it.
Great. Thank you for showing us that and really explaining it in detail. Does anyone else have any questions for Brian before he goes? Well, thank
Please.
you again for the good tech talk and stuff. And hopefully the storms pass you by and you stay.
Yeah, it seems to be just clearing up now, of course. But thanks, guys. I really appreciate it, and feel free to reach out to me. It's just Brian@straphq.com if you have any follow-up questions.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you all for coming. If possible, I have a sign-in sheet over here.